It is interesting to think what would have happened in the pages of history if this had occurred or if this had not occurred. Consider what happened after the French and Indian War, or what is better known as the 7 Years' War. The Treaty of Paris will be signed, but what if France had been able to retain Canada? What if they had been able to be in power there, and how would that have impacted the colonists? Would they have found themselves somehow more sided with Britain? Would Britain, the government, have been able to work and broker some type of a deal that would have delayed or not even allowed for the Revolutionary War? King George I came from Hanover, and it was sort of forced upon him to come to Britain to make sure that he secured the crown. Now move along to George III. And in about 1770, if George III had said, I'm going to travel to the colonies, I'm going to listen to what they have to say, or at least just show up and have a conversation, would that have changed the dynamics? And then think about it from King George I's perspective, moving from Hanover and residing in Britain. What would have happened if George III would have moved to the colonies and stayed there? Now, he was not much of a traveler. George III stayed basically within the area where he lived and didn't even travel throughout his own country. But it is kind of interesting to ponder what would have happened had he taken a trip across the Atlantic, visited the colonists, and actually stayed in America, or as it would become America. All those questions and more are fascinatingly answered in this book called The Last King of America by Andrew Roberts. I highly recommend it. It not only talks about the life of King George III, but also gives a great insight into the times in which he lived and the government that was underway during his reign. Thanks for listening and have a great day.